have the candidate forum for District 6 here at Sandy Spring Friends School. It's sponsored by Diversity Matters and by the Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice. The Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice, our goal is to educate people about the process and about their candidates so that we can all be informed voters. What else can I say to you? We have sign-in sheets. So anybody who's not on our mailing list, please sign in and you can be on our weekly newsletter. There's plenty of candidate information scattered about the group, in the back of the room for afterwards, and they'll have a meet and greet. Chris Locke is going to be our moderator today, and she's going to explain to everybody the process with which this is going to run. Okay? Thank you, Chris.
Great, thanks. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Locke, and I'm going to be the moderator today. So, as many of you know, there was an invigorating and inspiring march yesterday with some wonderful speeches. One of them was Jean Guerin here, and I think everybody is ready for action. And of course, one of the ways that we can take action is to vote, and the best vote is an educated vote. So that's why we're here. We want to make sure that we have an educated vote. So I just want to give you an idea of how it's going to run. We want to make sure that we have civil discourse and that we're transparent in the way that we run things. So this is an educational event. There is no room or need for protest or anything like that. The speaker order, as you can see them here, was randomly chosen. Each candidate will be given the same or comparable, for our libertarian, question. And those questions were designed by our organization before the event. Each candidate will have the same amount of time for each of the questions. I'll repeat the question each time before somebody answers so everybody remembers what we're doing. If anyone in the audience has questions, please feel free to take a note card. Shauna Kos is right here in the red. She has the note cards and she will give them to you and she can take them back. We will only have time for a few questions at the end, so make sure it's your one best question. We'll see how many we get to, but we're going to have all of the candidates answer all of the questions that we can get to. So again, there will be only a time for a few questions at the end. Please feel free after the event to take flyers from the candidates in the back. And I think there will be a few minutes for you to meet the candidates at the end. So if we can please welcome our participants with a round of applause. So I'll quickly just tell you who we have if you're in the back and you can't see. Kevin Caldwell, Roger Mano, Nadia Shamy, Sabrina Miller, Andrew Duck, and David Schrone here. So what we would like to have them do is first get up to the podium and introduce themselves. So in 2.5 minutes, please introduce yourself by telling us the professional experiences that make you qualified for the job of Congressperson of District 6. Also, please include how you are financing your campaign. So Kevin Caldwell, please come first. Can everybody hear?
Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank the group for having me here today. I'm the odd man out. My name is Kevin Caldwell. I am the Libertarian candidate for the 6th Congressional District. What qualifies me to be your congressman? It is not any single specific attribute or quality that does. It is the aggregate of all my personal and professional life experiences. I come from a modest, meager, lower middle class background. I was raised by a single mother, a farm girl from Georgia. My father is a 2-time Purple Heart recipient in Vietnam and a retired shipyard worker. I have served my country with honor in the United States Army from 2001 till 2008. For over 2 years of my enlistment, I served as the legal liaison for the Judge Advocate General's office, between that office and our headquarters command group. While serving as part of a public relations unit for Europe's 4-star commanding general, I represented our country in a diplomatic fashion from Moscow to Morocco and almost every country in between. I can affirm to you that I will represent you in Congress, adhering to the same core values that I adhered to while serving you in uniform. Selfless service for the welfare of others, and I will never ask anyone I serve to be subject to policies or laws that I am not subject to myself. Loyalty Integrity, respect, and selfless service are not just words that are used as part of a campaign sales pitch. They are my promise, my oath to you. My oath to defend the Constitution did not end for me the day that I took off the uniform. I offer all I am and every ability I possess to you now in your service to continue that same oath. I'm the Libertarian candidate. I am not beholden to any party leader, any lobbyist group, special interest, or any other entity. One cannot serve two masters, the entrenched establishment and you. If I am elected, I owe only you, the citizenry of the 6th Congressional District, my allegiance and my service. If elected, I will defend and advocate for our founding principles of self-governance, personal property rights, and individual liberties above all else. I am financing my campaign very simply, directly from those I seek to represent and no one else. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll be hearing from Roger Manning. And just to let the audience know, they'll be coming up to the podium only for the first introduction, and then after that, they'll be staying at their seats to answer the questions.
Hi everyone, I'm Roger Manno. I am very honored to be here before you all. I serve as state senator in a district not too far from here, about a mile and a half down the road. My wife and I live and have lived for many years. I've served in the state senate for 8 years. I hold the rank of majority whip. It's a nonviolent position. I chair 2 joint committees. Prior to that, for 4 years, I served in the House of Delegates, where I was elected overwhelmingly 12 years ago by the folks in District 19. Prior to that, I served for three members of Congress during law school and after law school as a counsel, a senior counsel, a legislative director. And let me just tell you how I got into this. My mom and my dad and I lived in California. I was born in 1966. We didn't have really very much money. My dad was a carpenter, my mom was a student. We moved to New York in 1971, and my dad walked into an emergency room on Christmas Eve clenching his chest with no health insurance. And they sent him home, and he died of a preventable heart disease because he was poor. And my mom and I went through some very, very tough times. If any of you know, and I know you do, the healthcare tragedy that exists in this country that's still going on, it happened to Mom and I. We had some very, very, very tough years. Just about every bad thing that could happen to a young single mother and a little boy happened to us. I lived on the street. I was in a group home. And because of good social programs and some grace, we made it out of that mess. Growing up, I wondered why some kids had nice clothes and ate nutritious food and went to nice schools and went on vacations, and I didn't. And I realized at a certain point that it was because of the economic disparities that exist in the world, and specifically healthcare. And I wanted to do something about that. And I struggled for many years to find the way to do that. I went to college many times. And I eventually got out, went to law school, and had the opportunity to be elected, as I mentioned before. And I worked with President Obama in the White House on the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Because for me and for many people in my community, we knew that health care was a right in this country, and we needed to do something about it. So it is a great honor to work with you and to have this opportunity to run for the House of Representatives. And I ask for your support. And in terms of how I'm funding this campaign, I think many of us would hope that David Trone would help us on that. But my campaign is funded by hardworking people. So thank you very much.
So next we have Ms. Nadia Shamy.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Nadia Shamy. I am standing here before you and offering myself as a candidate and believing that I am qualified because I have seen things in the different experiences that I've had and the different professional roles that I've had. I'm a pediatrician, and in that capacity I've been there for everything from a baby's first breaths to a teenager's last breaths. I've seen everything in between. I've also taken a bit of a different path, and I've become a novelist. So I am a best-selling novelist. I write books that are widely read for adults and for children, where I take on some of the hard issues like inequality, like poverty, like drug addiction, issues that are truly universal to all of us. I'm also a small business owner. I'm co-owner with my husband in a medical practice that serves this community, from Montgomery County to Prince George's County. I'm a first-generation American. So when I talk about the American dream, it's because I've known the story of my parents who came here with nothing and were able to build a small business, were able to empower their children, and able to see us standing here now as representatives of our communities. Specifically in my capacity as a physician, what I have seen is where the system fails all of us. It fails the families that I've been working with. Big business has no business in healthcare. I can tell you how much time we have spent arguing with insurance companies trying to get the care for patients that we know they need, that we know is clinically indicated, but being that they are industries that are run for profits, the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies will block it every step of the way. You know how much your prescription medications cost you, and you know that they cost far less in other countries. We can do better than that, but we have to prioritize people over profits. Coverage does not equal care. So while we offer coverage to people, we don't necessarily enable them to get the care they deserve. Medicaid has even failed us, and that's why this week I called out for all members of Congress to enroll in Medicaid so that they can feel what it's like to have that coverage that they believe is most adequate for the most vulnerable among us. We are in this together, and I'm standing here for those who don't have lobbying power. My campaign is funded by new Americans, by professionals, by students, and a lot of it by myself as well, because I have to ask people from very humble backgrounds to chip in, and not everyone that I'm approaching has deep pockets. So I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. I would be honored to have your vote and carry your message and represent you into the 6th District.
And I'll just repeat the question one more time. So in 2.5 minutes, please introduce yourself by telling us the professional experiences that make you qualified for the job of Congressperson of District 6, and please include your how you're financing your campaign. And next up is Sabrina Miller. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabrina Miller. Everyone has a story to tell, and I'd like to share with you my story. I came to the United States from India when I was 7 years old, and when I came here, I didn't know a word of English. It was through the public schools and the teachers that taught me English and how to assimilate myself into the new world. I grew up in a middle-class family, but during my senior year in high school, my father faced a health crisis, and as a result of that, he ended up losing his job. So you can imagine the turmoil that this threw my mother and myself into. My mom ended up getting a job. She'd never worked before, and I had to figure out, how do I get through college? And it was because of the safety net that is provided by taxpayers that I could get scholarships, Pell Grants, and work-study program that I could participate in, that I was able to graduate with a degree in civil engineering and achieve my dreams. I like to believe that I'm a good example of what happens when government works for the people. So I decided to, give back to our nation, because I have great gratitude for this. As a result of that, I've devoted my adult life to being a public servant. I've spent 25 years as a civil engineer working for Montgomery County residents to provide access and equity to people. And in Congress, there is not one civil engineer that's elected to office, but yet our nation spends over $400 billion investing in infrastructure. So I think this is a unique qualification I bring to this position. Finally, I also want to say that of all the candidates that are on the panel here, I'm the only candidate that represents the people of the 6th District currently and lives in the 6th District. I was elected in 2010 and re-elected in 2014. This has given me a tremendous opportunity to walk around and hear people's concerns and to fight for the issues that matter to them. I have a proven track record of being an effective leader, that knows how to build consensus and pass legislation that affects people. Finally, how am I going to fund my campaign? Well, I can tell you, I'm not a self-funder, and my campaign is not being funded by special interest group. In fact, 96% of the funding that I receive are from individuals that believe in our message and our campaign. Ultimately, though, we have to remember CD-6 belongs to the people, and they're going to decide who's the best candidate, and I hope that I can earn their vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Andrew Duck, please.
Hello, my name is Andrew Duck, and I am a candidate for Congress in Maryland's 6th District. The question is what professional experiences you have that make you qualified for the job of congressperson for the 6th District. First of all, I live in the 6th District. I'm from the state of Maryland. I'm a proud graduate of Maryland Public Schools. I graduated from Middletown High School in Frederick County. My wife graduated from Seneca Valley here in Montgomery County. I enlisted in the Army when I was 19 years old and have spent 20 years in the Army. I enlisted when I was 19 because my wife and I had a son that was born premature, and we needed health care that would cover a pre-existing condition. We didn't have Obamacare. The only way you could do it was to join the military. My son weighed 3 pounds, 10 ounces, and I could hold him in my hand like this. Today, he's standing up in the back of the room. That's why, when you look at my literature, the number one thing I have on here is Medicare for all. I enlisted, I started out as a company clerk, as a private first class. I became a Korean linguist. I graduated from DLI, and today, when we have a threat from Korea, we need somebody who understands that we need diplomatic solutions, not military solutions, to the challenges that are posed by Korea. Somebody who has spent 25 years studying that area has the background to do that. I deployed 3 times. I went on to become a military intelligence officer, and then I deployed 3 times to Bosnia. That's where we showed how American military power could be used properly. I also then deployed 1 time on the ground in Iraq. That was so frustrating that I came back home and submitted my retirement because they wouldn't listen to anything that we were telling them. I ran for Congress based on that when I returned home, when nobody else was willing to in the 6th District. The 6th District at that time was predominantly Republican. Nobody else was willing to do it. I ran, got the nomination in 2006 and in 2010. Between that time, we increased the number of Democrats in the 6th District by 9%. We did that by hard work, on the ground, registering voters with hundreds of volunteers. That's the reason I'm running for the 6th District today. That's my background, and I'll give you some more information later.
Thank you. People just walked in. We're going to try to find some more chairs. If you please fill in and stand over here. And there are a few seats up in the front here. And just a reminder, each candidate is getting the same question. We are here for educational purposes. This is for the purpose of civil discourse. And there will be a time for very limited questions from the audience. If you have a question, you need to submit it on a note card to Shauna, who is where? Or to Brooke right here in the orange. So our last introduction, 2.5 minutes or less, please. What makes you qualified for the job of congressperson? This is David Trone.
Good afternoon, everybody. I live in Potomac with my wife and 4 kids, 3 daughters and a son. My parents both graduated University of Maryland. My dad was the first one in his family to go to college. The GI Bill, he fought in World War II in the Pacific. But I actually grew up on a farm. My mom was a school teacher, but my dad was a chicken farmer and a hog farmer. We learned the value of hard work. We had 200 acres, but unfortunately, my dad drank too much. The drinking led to the failure of the farm. The failure of the farm led to the banks coming and taking our farm when they took our house, my parents separated. I, as the oldest of four, went with my parents, my mother, and started over again. So unlike the current guy in the White House, we grew up at home plate. We didn't grow up almost stealing home plate from third base. I then started a small business. At the Wharton School of Business, I went on student loans, and I started a small business to support ourselves in our second semester. That business has now grown to Total Wine and More. We operate in 22 states with 180 stores, and most importantly, 6,000 great team members. It's our people that has made us successful. That's our whole key to success. We pay excellent wages. 75% of our store people are full-time. They're full-time so we can pay them medical. We can have FMLA. We can have retirement. We can have partner benefits. And we can have a team that drives the business forward. But at the end of the day, as Bobby Kennedy said, we need to leave the place in a better place than we came. And that's why I'm running. There's no more time to sit on the sidelines. And just fighting Donald Trump is not enough. We need to have ideas and leadership to show folks a different path, a different agenda. An agenda that thinks about long-term solutions, thinks about our children. So every decision we make should be thoughtfully done on what's right long-term, not how we keep the government open today. New ideas, change, that's what I promise. As far as financing, obviously I'll definitely put some dollars in, but this race, we're holding fundraisers from Montgomery County to Frederick to Hagerstown, all across the district, but no money from PACs and no money from lobbyists.
Thank you. So that was our introduction from each candidate, and we're going to have a series of questions now.